Vinland Saga, the manga that has had the impact, longevity, and reputation to be considered one of the big threes when it comes to the seinen manga, along with Berserk and Vagabond. The story started back in 2005 and it is still ongoing unlike the other two, and it also seems to be ending. And yes, I know that Berserk is still ongoing but at an extremely slow rate, and the fans have kind of decided for themselves that the manga ended with Miora's passing. And to rub it in the faces of the other two, it has an anime adaptation. Let's not talk about Berserk 2016. So yeah, I have finally watched the 2 seasons that are out and I'm planning to read the manga, but before all that I really wanted to share my thoughts and opinions, starting with season 1 of course. I went into the show mostly spoiler free, and by that I mean I did get spoiled on that one thing that everybody knows. It even became a trend and a meme at one point. It's my freaking background music, for crying out loud. It's the line, "I have no enemies." Such a powerful line that even I kept spewing without knowing the context or the source. And to be honest, it's the reason why I even wanted to start Vinland Saga in the first place. So yeah, with that being said, let's start. The story takes place around 1013 AD in England during the time of war, and every major event that takes place does show up in actual history. Most of the characters, including our boy Thorfinn, are based off of actual people as well. And so yeah, the story is kind of loosely based off of history, or kind of a retelling, I would say. So yeah, to all you history majors, I would say this would be a treat for you, or boring as hell because you know what's gonna happen. Nah, not actually though, because the story focuses mainly on themes, ideologies, characters. Pretty much from the first few episodes we figure out the core beliefs of our protagonist's father, Thor's, which is that of strength, kindness, pacifism, sacrifice, and truly being a great warrior. His sacrifice saved everyone, including the lives of his own enemies. But the sad thing is, he could not save his own son from what he was going to become. The exact opposite of all his teachings and philosophy. An edgy emo kid. Thorfinn wanted revenge but in the right way, and therefore he became Askeladd's errand boy, doing all his biddings to earn himself a duel only to get the shit kicked out of him and then start the whole process again. By the way, did I mention that Askeladd's the one who killed his father?
Well, no fucking shit!
Yeah, I know I didn't have to, but you know someone's gonna bring that up. Askeladd, the main protagonist of the show and also the antagonist, like, this is one interesting character. Like, he is freaking evil. He would make you want to vomit, he makes you mad, but he also makes you want to support him from time to time, if you know what I mean. He's clever, charismatic, very handsome, well, at least in the anime, like, goddamn Prince Vegeta, super strong, and the best manipulator. He knows what to do and he gets the job done. He acts selfishly most of the times, but surprisingly at the end of season 1, he does some of the most selfless acts anyone has ever done in the show besides Thor's, which was giving up his life for his hometown, helping Prince Canute become the king, and freeing Thorfinn from his chains. He could have easily just switched sides and joined the king. He could have not given a fuck about whales, and he could have easily shifted the blame of killing Thors to Floki, like, that bitch is right there. But no, out of all the options that he had, he chose the best thing to do, the right thing to do, which was to sacrifice himself for everyone. But again, just like Thor's, he could not save Thorfinn because he is still an edgy emo teenager. Enraged, he strikes Canute, the one who took all his reasons for living, and he was cast out to become a slave as punishment or mercy for striking the new king of England, Canute. Canute, who is now a tyrant, actually started off as a kawaii femboy. Like, I would have never believed that these two characters were the same person, but of course there were reasons for this, which was he was just raised this way. He had all the potential, wisdom, and knowledge to become a great ruler, which Askeladd and Torkel figured out quite quickly actually, but all that potential in him was locked because he was raised as a spoiled brat, pampered little child with no taste of reality. He was overly protected and pampered by his father figure, Ragnar, which is why he got killed because Askeladd wanted to raise him the right way, his way, which, not gonna lie, did work. Which is interesting because we have had like 3 father figures, all trying to raise their sons in the best way they seem fit. Ragnar raised Canute to be this kind, good kid with good morals and principles, but he forgot to show him the reality of this world, thus making him weak and naive, someone with the right heart but with no backbone to hold those morals and ideals. And on the other hand, we have Askeladd trying to raise Thorfinn to face the realities of this harsh world face first, which made him stronger, molding him into this killer with no morals, which he did end up regretting, and he tried to do the opposite towards the end, but yeah, most of the times he would just...
この二人相当やってんな。決闘の理由は
Thors, on the other hand, tried to raise his son in what I would call it the best of both worlds. He was raising his son to become someone who is strong but also kind, someone who is dangerous enough not to be messed with, but also someone who can control that, someone who can win battles without raising a sword. He wanted to raise him to become a great warrior. Anyways, I have a minor complaint, which is Canute turning from this kawaii femboy to this emo philosopher didn't quite sit right with me, because the amount of character development, if you can even call that, I would call it a possession, is quite unbelievable. And yes, I understand that his dad was hunting him down and his dad got killed, and then his father gave him this really nice prep talk, which ultimately made him feel betrayed by his father in heaven. But yeah, that transformation of his was a bit too drastic. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about Thorkel or Torkel or however you want to call him. Thorkel to me feels very anime. He throws literal boulders and spears miles away. He can cut through 10 people with just one swing. And he's a freaking giant. He feels like a character that just straight up jumped out of Shonen Jump, and while keeping all his stats with him, which shouldn't really work in a realistic anime like this, but it does. And it's not like he's just a muscle, like I'm pretty sure he's the only honorable Viking. Like we've seen and heard Vikings talk about honor and dying in the battlefield to go to Valhalla, but when push comes to shove, most of the Vikings just shit themselves when faced with death, but not him. He's also wise enough to know what to do and what not to do, and he loves a good challenge. Like he will join the losing side just because he wants to fight against the winning side, and that's the reason why he even goes to war. There are 3 characters that I really want to talk about, which are Thors, Thorfinn, and Askeladd. I left out Canute and Torkel because I did briefly talk about them, and Canute being very important in the 2nd season makes me want to talk about him in the future video. Thors, the dad of our protagonist, known to be the strongest and most badass warrior of all time, probably with a KDA ratio of over 1,000, runs away from battle and decides to start a new life, free from war and slavery. We see in the first few episodes the kind of person he is, or in actuality the person he turned into, and I really don't know what changed him, please don't tell me in the comments. But yeah, he seems to be a very good, caring and humble man, which doesn't seem to be too out of the ordinary for people like you and me or anyone in the 21st century. But you have to remember, he was born over 1,000 years ago and surrounded by nothing but Vikings, whose daily activities involve waging war, raping, pillaging, genocide, selling and buying of slaves, and the only way of getting into Valhalla, which is their version of heaven, was through dying in battle. So yeah, to produce someone like him, who is the total opposite amidst all this chaos and brainwashing, is truly a miracle. But then, what he did towards the end of his life truly shook me. His sacrifice. What I once thought of a great man suddenly transformed into a nearly perfect being. A lot of people didn't understand or misunderstood why he did what he did.
Why? Why?
But I understood, I think. I understood why he sacrificed himself and why he didn't kill anyone. It's because of love. Unconditional love. You see, the topic of love has been brought up a few times in this season, specifically by the priest, and it has been to what I believe the one thing that most people did not care about, like, understood, and even found it boring, And so knowing all that, it wasn't really that surprising to find out that a good chunk of those people did not like season 2, even though the themes of love was clearly a foreshadowing. But anyways, the priest himself was shocked that someone was capable of loving like that. Loving your enemies like Jesus Christ. Because it is truly impossible to love everyone like Jesus. But here we have Thor, who loved everyone, including Askeladd, as if he were his own son. This is also why the priest said that the love those two brothers have for each other and the love that Ragnar had for Knut isn't true love, because their love is conditional. They only love each other because they're brothers, and Ragnar only loved Knut because he was the prince. And so this theme of Christianity also kind of hits home, because we are always told to love each other. We were told that love could heal the world, and maybe it could, but the thing is, we don't work like that. Most of our love is conditional. We only love people who are close to us, or who love us, or related to us, etc, etc. Like, it is never unconditional. You see people on the streets doing drugs, but you don't give a damn because you don't know them. You don't care if they overdose and die. But if it happens to be your son doing this, you will definitely care, won't you? So yeah, this is what Thor is doing. Loving everyone equally and taking them all into rehab. And the whole ideology of Christianity sprinkled throughout the season fits quite well, because it directly opposes the ideologies of the Vikings. The ideology that wages war, brings destruction and slavery, versus the ideology that pushes pacifism, kindness, and equality. And it's the ideology that Thor encapsulates. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about his son Thorfinn, who is the protagonist of the show. Well, not actually. Thorfinn doesn't play a huge role in season 1. He is more of a side character who is also a one-dimensional emo kid that just wants revenge, which sounds bad, but it isn't. In fact, it's actually perfect for him given the way he grew up and the way he deals with his trauma. Like, Thorfinn himself constantly tries to be this one-dimensional emo kid that wants revenge. He constantly tries to block off all his emotions, as we can see time and time again, the glimpses of his innocence turning cold, because he does not want that. He wants to focus on revenge. He does all the things that he knows is wrong just because he is promised a chance to take revenge. And he knows he's being used by Askeladd, but he does not care. He will do anything if offered a chance to take revenge. He'll go up against Thorkel, murder people. Like, that's the reason why he didn't even go back with Leif. Avenging his father is the only thing that is on his mind. And that's the one thing that his father does not want him to do. Instead, he wants him to forgive Askeladd and move on, because being unable to forgive him is the reason why he became a mass murderer, just like Askeladd. And so the way he figures this out in season 2 was so damn powerful. And yes, I know I'm jumping into season 2, but don't worry. But yeah, seeing him grow from this hatred-filled killing machine to an empty husk of a man to then a great warrior was truly chef's kiss, one of the best character writing in all of anime. Nay, not just anime, in all of fiction.
I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
Askeladd is kind of like the opposite to Thor. He does not believe in a savior, whether it be Artorias, Jesus, or Vinland. He has no hope even for humanity because, like he said, everyone is a slave to something, even himself. And so this is why he takes matters into his own hands. He does what he has to do to fill that void left inside him, the void of just existing. He cheats, lies, deceives, steals and kills, even if he doesn't want to, even if it doesn't bring him no joy, because he is not a Viking. He didn't kill Thorfinn even if he could a million times over. He didn't kill that kid that attacked him, and he didn't even want to kill all those villagers. But he knew he had to because he knew it was for the ultimate good. They could have never survived the winter. If he lets them go, they would have called for backup, hence endangering the entire plan, leading to Canute never becoming the king. And honestly speaking, I really think a part of him did actually want Thors to lead him and his men, because he never really wanted to live like those Vikings. Instead, he despises every one of them except for Bjorn more than anything in this world because of his father. But yet, he surrounds himself with them, he lives like them, and he even acknowledges that he is exactly like them. And that is his chain, the chain that he cannot break. And therefore at times we see that he doesn't even care if he lives. The scene where he doesn't react to Thorfinn coming to kill him shows that he's given up on life itself. He killed his own father the same way, and he expected Thorfinn to do the same, but he didn't. And this, I think, changed him. He found purpose to help Thorfinn become more like his father and less like him, because he knew that even if Thorfinn could avenge his father, that would not stop him from turning into the monster that he turned into. And that is how he found his purpose, guiding Thorfinn and even Canute down the line. And even in his dying breath, he wishes Thorfinn to get out of this hell, to become a better man, to become a true warrior. Askeladd wanted to leave behind a legacy through Thorfinn and Canute, the two men who would try to bring peace to this world in their own way. Well, that's all I have to say about season 1, and of course there were more, but I don't want this video to be too long. I do all the writing and recording and editing, so yeah, it's kind of difficult. So yeah, I would really like it if you would, like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, that's it.